LT Rob here. When I left off, my wife was turning my shoulder into a punching bag, and my son was doing the best impression I've ever seen of a dead person. I gotta be honest, I didn't jump to action. I wasn't up for it, man. You hear all these stories. Somebody tips a dump truck over on a baby, and some mom picks it up with one hand while not spilling the grocery shilling in her other hand, tosses it aside, picks up her baby, and everything's fine. I just stood there. I just stood there and stared at my kid, and a million things swirled through my brain. Like, I'm not gonna have to put up with this shit anymore, I guess. I guess that's one less thing I'll have to fucking worry about. Yeah. I was that messed up. Eventually he drew a very ragged breath in. It's really hard to describe, but when someone's unconscious and they start to breathe, it's weird. His lips were fluttering, and it was just, it was labored, man. After what seemed like a really long time, I stuffed my hand into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and I called 911. They got there really fast, and I'm going to tell you what, man. They rolled. Fire trucks, paramedic guys, ambulance, cops. There was a couple of cop cars there. My son ended up in the hospital. Now what do? I live in the southwest corner of Washington State, right across the Columbia River from Oregon. There was nowhere in Washington that I could get to take him in. You know, a facility that would care for somebody in that kind of condition that's been through those type of things. Plus, in Washington, once you're 17, your parents can't do anything. If we would have found a place that was going to restrict your freedom, not let you leave, he could override that as a 17-year-old in Washington State. As a family, we made some pretty tough decisions. Found a place in Oregon that would take him. They said, we'll lock him down for probably 3 months. Our insurance covered it. The question is, how do you get him there? Unbelievably, they had a service. I can't remember the words they used for it. I'll call it a goon squad. They were going to send like big scary dudes to my house, I assume in like a windowless van. They were going to scoop up my kid and take him to Oregon. And once he was over the border, all bets were off. He couldn't do a fucking thing about anything. When I found out that they had a goon squad and my insurance covered it, I was stupefied that such a thing existed, and that if I met my deductible, it was free. I ultimately didn't have those guys come scoop up my son. I'm not into having my kid kidnapped by strangers, even if they're professionals. But it got me to thinking. What if I could get this goon squad to take care of a few other little things in my life that I may or may not need help with? Take care of my light work, if you know what I mean. So I was wondering what I might have done with those guys. To be honest with you, my neighbor does have my lawnmower, and I'm having a lot of trouble getting it back from him. I'll call you back. Okay, so probably I really didn't want to put my neighbor in the hospital over a lawnmower. That's pretty shitty, even for me. But what about if I'm tired of walking 3/4 of a mile to get to the grocery store, and I just want to park up by the door, a little closer. That's okay, isn't it?
God damn.
What about various day-to-day personal problems? I mean, I can see this shit coming in handy.
God damn it. Hey. What if...
Ultimately, I'll never know what that was all about because we didn't go there. But I remembered my father that afternoon as my son sat stoically in a chair across from my wife and I on a couch and told us he would hate us forever and never live in our home again or talk to us ever again for the rest of our lives if we did that to him. Which of course was bullshit. Later on, I told my wife, I've got a plan, which was bullshit. The only thing I knew was I didn't know how to live without my son, and the thought of him being taken away from me for even a minute was unbearable. Even in my drug-fogged mind, the idea was starting to form that there may be an opportunity here to right some wrongs. My life couldn't have been a bigger mess. I was being sued. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. I was potentially going to lose my home. My marriage was a shambles. My family was falling apart. My son had nearly died. I weighed well over 280 pounds, was on blood pressure medication, slept with a CPAP machine, and was addicted to prescription painkillers. It was all shit. I remember specifically what I said. I said, I'm going to fix this. And she said, if this goes sideways, it's your ass. I was terrified, but hopeful. I had no idea what I was going to do.